Northeastern British Columbia, like many other parts of our province, is known for its breathtaking scenery. This Treaty 8 land that you see here is known as the West Moberly First Nations Reserve, and their people have had the privilege of looking after this land for thousands of years. The West Moberly First Nations are a mixture of Daniza and Cree people. Their nation and several others in the area have ancestors that have been here for at least 12,000 and a half years.
So the archaeological evidence at Sequoia suggests that people have been visiting this site and gathering here for over 12,500 years. Linguistic evidence suggests that those are the Daneza people that still exist in the Peace region today. The archaeological record at Sequoia is really unique in that it shows a continuity of culture that has existed since time immemorial. One of the really interesting archaeological finds that we attribute to Sequoia is two raven skeletons that appear to have been buried fully intact and intentionally at the site. And this suggests that people were carrying out spiritual activities involving animals at the site. And those raven skeletons existing over 1,000 years apart in the archaeological record suggest that these oral histories are being passed down and spiritual customs being passed down over many, many generations. Some of the activities that the archaeological record preserves here is hunting, particularly the Oninachi, the giant animals, as well as beading. A 10,500-year-old bead was found at Sequoia, the oldest evidence of human adornment north of the Yucatan Peninsula. We also have more recently found scrapers at the site. Those indicate that there was traditional hide making being done at Sequoia, as well as fish bones suggesting fishing, and all kinds of other stone tool technology that has been preserved in the archaeological record at Sequoia. In 2012, the three partner First Nations that include West Moberly purchased the property containing Sequoia so that they could reclaim this really important cultural site and share it with the other communities. So they have, over the last decades, been preserving this site and using it as a space to share their rich culture and heritage with the non-Indigenous communities around them.
While we are lucky and grateful to have the archaeological information and oral history of our First Nations ancestors in this area, unfortunately, the same level of documentation does not exist for oral histories for West Moberly First Nations. Vague descriptions on the internet or tales told by outsiders only scratch the surface of their unique culture. Teck Resources Limited, one of Canada's largest mining companies, ran into this issue when they first came here. But thanks to a discovery made by West Moberly First Nations Chief Roland Wilson, the history of their nation would begin to emerge.
What wound up happening was I was out, I was driving around, and I drove across the Teck conveyor belt line, and there was a herd of elk there, and I stopped, and there was elk on one side and then about 4 little calves on the other side. And when I came up, the adult elk ran away, and the little ones were stuck on the other side, and they couldn't get across to hook up with their family, right? And they wound up being left behind. And when I came back, they were still there, and they couldn't figure out how to get the other elk jumped over the conveyor belt because they were bigger, and the little ones couldn't get across, so they wound up getting stranded. And the conveyor belt had been there since they were operating Quintet, and they had shut down Quintet, I think probably in 1999, something like that, they shut down. And when I drove by, it was like 2010, so it had been there for over 10 years, that conveyor belt, and they were done with the mine. And I came back and I talked to council about what I saw, and we talked to our lands office, and we called up Teck Coal and asked them, like, this is what happened, what's going on with the conveyor belt? Are you going to take it down, or is it just going to stay there forever? And we got into this long conversation with them, and they realized that it's probably something that they should take down. And I got pictures. When I stopped, I took pictures of it, you know, and a camera is very valuable. Right? Not just in the sense of money, but in the sense of being able to prove your story, to be able to show what you're talking about to people. Well, we've always kind of had a relationship with Teck. We started, out of that discussion, started this, they wanted to reopen other mines in the area. And, you know, we started this conversation about an MOU. We should actually have a relationship with them and an MOU. Another coal mine had come into the area. Anglo-American opened up a coal mine called Peace River Coal, and we got an agreement with them and kind of said, you know, this is how things are going now. And it was a kind of a relationship agreement, and it started to be a really good relationship.
When I first got hired by Teck to work in Northeast BC and establish relationships with the First Nations people of Northeast BC and Treaty 8 territory, your starting point was whatever was published on the internet at that time, or what was sitting in a library, which was filtered through a colonial lens. Right? It was anthropologists, white anthropologists, that were telling their interpretation of the nation's story, and it was a very compartmentalized. It was very superficial, and did not give any sense of what really truly existed. And so that was a huge learning piece for me. And with those opportunities that we had to connect on a more personal level, playing music, Westmo days, and you know, celebrations, and me having the gumption to make bannock for West Moberly elders. You know, it was that's when we really, you know, you get your eyes open to just a rich and vibrant culture whose story deserves to be told by them, right? And to be able to kind of take stories that have effectively formed the tome of history for West Moberly First Nations, and to be able to attach that to places on the land and where names come from, and where interesting, you know, stories happen in specific areas.
I didn't know all of our history when I started on council, so it's been a learning experience for me, and I've learned a few things, and then I've unlearned a few things, you know, because I heard different stories, but you know, then I heard other information from elders who knew more about the time. And so I'm very, I think it's very important that we get the information right, you know, so that membership knows the real history of West Moberly and all the key players. All the members of West Moberly are descended from Dunniza people. We have a lot of Cree and Saulteaux and other nationalities that are part of our membership, but every one of us is descended from Dunniza people.
Our nation specifically, we're a little removed from the rest of the Dunniza nations. One of the big problems is that we have a large Cree influencer, and everybody in our nation has Dunniza in them, but because there's a large Cree influence, we've lost the Dunniza language, and most of the people are speaking Cree. And what we're trying to do is recover the Dunniza side of us, because that's like, it's in all of us. We all have it, but everybody, because there was such a large Cree influence, everybody started learning Cree traditions, right? I'm not Cree, I'm Dunniza, so I don't, and there's nobody here left anymore. My mom was the last fluent Dunniza speaker of our nation when she passed away, so we did a language program. We worked with one of the other Dunniza nations, our sister nation, Halfway River, and we captured quite a bit of the language and stuff. It's all recorded and stuff like that, but it's, you know, you lose it if you don't use it. It's one of those things, and you know, and that's, for me, it's important to gather that information. And this was a Denizaw nation before the Cree came here, you know. So we have all this Cree Teck information and traditions and stuff like that, and we're slowly losing all the Denizaw side of us, right? And Dean started the cultural heritage program. Dean was motivated to get it going and stuff like that. So we've been working hard on trying to recapture it. And, you know, it's one of those things. It's our sister nations, right? The Halfway, the Prophet River, Doig River. Those guys are all, they're Denizaw. They have their language, but we don't have the language here. And I'm not so interested in learning Cree. I do because it's a respectful thing out of the rest of the community, but I want to learn Denizaw. They're not so prevalent in certain areas, but in other areas they are. And there were more of them moved in down here, and they just kind of overwhelmed us. And it's trying to capture the old traditions, the old teachings, and things like that, right? And remember that we have them. You know, we're not just a Cree nation, we're a Denizaw nation too, right? I want us to be like proud of who we are, you know, and part of being proud of who we are is understanding who we are, where we came from, and knowing how the Cree and the Denizaw came together here. You know, the place names around here, they're no longer in Denizaw, they're all English place names. You know, Moberly Lake, it wasn't called Moberly Lake before, but nobody can remember what it was actually called, right? So we have to go back and find out, go to elders from other nations and talk to them about it and things like that, you know. And it's one of those, when you look at people that are struggling, a lot of the people that are struggling are struggling because they don't know who they are, right? They've lost that core piece to them, and we see that happening around us all over the place, you know. And that's language is known to be a huge piece of that, you know, and being proud of who you are as Denizaw or Cree or Saulteaux, you know. That's all. You have to accept that, and you should be proud of it, right? There's nothing bad about it. You know, it's just who we are. We're the Denizaw are the indigenous people of this area, and we've lived here since time immemorial, you know. And the Cree have moved in here, and others have moved in here, and it's the treaty is a peace and friendship treaty, right? So we're all living together and doing that, but we need to keep in touch with who we are. So,
as the relationship between Teck and Westmo began to evolve, a new idea emerged. Since Teck didn't have any active projects in the area for Westmo to be a part of, the two parties mutually agreed that it would be beneficial if Teck would fund the construction of a website and app for the nation instead. But for Teck Industries, this website and app had a deeper meaning.
It's a way to help shine a light on an amazing part of the First Peoples in Northeast BC outside of what typically happens, which is cross-cultural education in the context of a company seeking to get a project developed. This is an opportunity for the general public to learn more about their neighbors in a natural and self-paced way, using technology that has become part of our everyday lives, and it can be made extremely accessible. So it's an opportunity for West Moberly First Nations to celebrate their culture and their deep, rich history in Northeast BC with the general public, with youth, with industry representatives in a very innovative manner. Yeah, the Storyscapes app holds huge amount of potential to showcase not only the historical culture of the nation, but also the rich rich culture and activities that are taking place in the nation today.
Teck and Westmo councillors got to work right away and hired a company called Ecotourism to develop the website and app, which would become known as the Westmo Storyscapes. After several years of work and a $60,000 donation by Teck, the vision became a reality in 2014. The nation finally had a working digital platform to archive their history.
So he introduced us to a fellow named Clinton Belcher, who was able to produce an app for us, put together an app called Storyscapes, which we attended several meetings, and he showed us how the app would work, how it would capture information, and we'd be able to store it for later references and categorize it in different places. So we were all pretty impressed. I was very impressed with the capabilities of the app. So we started down the road of learning more, and Clinton came here a few times, developed a relationship with the community. I know he came to Westmo Days, took some videos, tried to get information to put into the app.
Unfortunately, both the website and the app sat dormant for a number of years, and that came down mainly to two issues. First, the nation didn't have anyone that wanted to be the gatekeeper of the site in order to decide which content to publish. The other issue was that the West Moberly First Nations Council was not able to draw enough attention to the site and get members involved.
About 3 years ago, Chief and Council were having a discussion about documenting our history, our really old history, because all the members of West Moberly are descended from Dunnies people. We have a lot of Cree and Saulteaux and other nationalities that are part of our membership, but every one of us is descended from Dunnies people.
In early October of 2020, Council decided to get back to work once again on documenting their history. Upon the request of Dean Doki, Council decided to revive an old project which involved the creation of a separate society with the sole purpose of rewriting and restoring the nation's history. Teck once again stepped up to the plate and donated another $50,000 to help the nation complete this work.
In that first year, we approached Teck, and so they funded us for the second year. We're now in our fourth year, 2024. The fiscal year is like from March to March of next year, 2025. And so Teck just right away said, yeah, it just happened fast. It was at that time where people wanted to know more about the nations, even the schools, the colleges. And it was just the perfect timing, I can say. And what we approached Teck about was that, we want to build the curriculum. That's always been in the mind for some reason, because our people need to know about themselves. They need to know about, and other people as well in the territory. It's not just about West Moberly, it's other nations, but West Moberly has its own stories. Every nation does. And that was the journey that we went on. So let's tell our story the way it should be, not a comprehensive way from another academic, an anthropologist, and no discredit to anyone. It's just that the story comes from this perspective from West Moberly. And if we tell our story about in the curriculum of the schools and the interest of that, I can already see it because we're teaching now. As of this last year, 2023, this year especially 2024, we're now starting to teach our local knowledge in the colleges and the schools as a course. But we're taking the courses and turning them into a curriculum. So it'll take a few years yet, but we're getting there. And it's pretty awesome. And Teck, being there to give us that kickstart that we needed to do, and the nation, fully supports it. It's incredible. We're in an incredible journey. I can't wait for the rest of the youth to be involved and just kind of take hold of it and just immerse in it.